Eberechi transfer news. Arsenal agree £67.5 million deal to sign Crystal Palace forward after hijacking Tottenham move. Arsenal agree deal to sign Eberechi from Crystal Palace after hijacking Tottenham Hotspur's move. Spurs felt they had an agreement in place with the club and the player on Wednesday before their North London rivals reignited their interest and swooped in. Arsenal have agreed a £67.5 million deal to sign Eberechi after hijacking Tottenham Hotspur's move for the Crystal Palace forward. The Gunners will pay a guaranteed £60 million plus £7.5 million in add-ons for the forward, with personal terms now close to being totally agreed. Eze's release clause, worth £60 million plus £8 million in add-ons, expired before the Premier League season started. Understands that he is still expected to be in the squad for Crystal Palace's Conference League game on Thursday and wants to say his goodbyes to the fans. Eze's Arsenal medical could take place as soon as Friday. Spurs felt they had an agreement in place with Palace and Eze on Wednesday before their North London rivals reignited their interest and swooped in following an injury to Kai Havertz. Eze was one of a number of players Arsenal looked into in the first few weeks of the window, where, significantly, a lot of the work was carried out in June when they explored the conditions of a deal. Since then, their focus has been on other positions and player departures. Eberechi will be free to represent Arsenal in the league phase of the Champions League this season, even if he plays for Crystal Palace in their Conference League qualifier on Thursday. Current UEFA regulations allow players to represent more than one club per season in their competitions. However, certain conditions must be met. Palace take on Norwegian side Fredrikstad in a Conference League playoff qualifying round tie on Thursday night. If a player appears in a playoff or qualifying round in any of UEFA's top 3 competitions, they can represent a different side from the league phase of another European competition. Spurs were considering offering Richarlison in a deal for Eze. That would have freed up striker space for them to try and sign Jon Wissa, who played under Thomas Frank at Brentford. Wissa still wants to join Newcastle, who had a second bid rejected on Wednesday. The 27-year-old, who started in Palace's draw at Chelsea on Sunday, has 2 years left on his contract at Selhurst Park. How battle for Eze unfolded. Arsenal have a long-standing interest in Eze, who was previously on the books of their academy and has said he was a supporter of the club growing up. They explored a potential deal earlier in the window, but chose not to pursue a deal at that stage as they prioritized strengthening other areas of the squad and agreeing new contracts with existing players. Spurs then came in for Eze after Morgan Gibbs-White chose to sign a new contract at Nottingham Forest, and they lost James Maddison to an ACL injury. Talks were held between Tottenham and Palace, and Spurs felt they had an agreement in place on Wednesday with club and the player. However, Arsenal then came in to hijack the deal in a major twist on Wednesday evening. Thanks for watching. Stay for the next content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Arsenal sent clear Alexander Isak transfer instruction after Kai Havertz injury. The Gunners are on the lookout for a replacement after Kai Havertz picked up an injury. Arsenal could make a late play to sign Alexander Isak from Newcastle after Kai Havertz suffered a knee injury that could see him set for a lengthy spell on the sidelines. The Gunners held open training on Wednesday in front of supporters, and Havertz was missing, with The Athletic reporting later that the German had picked up a knee injury in a huge blow to Mikel Arteta. Arsenal have already brought in £63.7 million man Victor Gyökeres to help solve their striker crisis, but an injury to Havertz will leave Arteta light in the forward department once more. The plan at the Emirates Stadium was to focus on outgoing transfers before committing to potentially one more big signing before the window closed, but the injury to Havertz has changed matters. Sporting director Andrea Berta will now look to the market to bring in a replacement. At the start of the window, it was a case of Gyökeres or Benjamin Sesko, who eventually ended up at Manchester United and played against the Gunners on Sunday in the opening game of the new Premier League season. But the dream signing was always seen to be Alexander Isak at Newcastle United. The Swede was, however, seen as off-limits due to the Magpies' disinterest in selling and the £150 million price tag on his shoulders. However, things have dramatically changed on the Isak front in recent weeks, with Liverpool seeing a £110 million bid knocked back after Isak refused to return to training with Newcastle in order to try and force through a move. Isak released a statement on Instagram on Tuesday night saying, "I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself." Isak is desperate to leave St. James Park, and the feeling is that Liverpool will return with another bid to try and snap him up. But given Arsenal's previous interest and their need to reinforce now, could the Gunners move to hijack that potential deal? Is the money there to get another big money transfer through the door? If Arsenal did have the money to spend and could hijack Liverpool's move for Isak, it would represent a huge coup. And the Gunners have been told exactly how to do it, too. Sky Sports reporter Keith Downey said, "If some magic happened in the window and Newcastle managed to find a top-level replacement from somewhere for Isak and they brought in Wissa, then my understanding is Isak would be allowed to go if Liverpool upped their bid. I think it would need to be another £25 million on top of that, £110 plus add-ons, for Newcastle to sit up and listen." Thanks for watching. Stay for the next content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Man United handed Carlos Baleba transfer boost as talks advance over sale. The latest Manchester United transfer news and views as they continue to work on proposed deals. Manchester United's hopes of strengthening further in the summer transfer window are being severely restricted by a lack of sales at Old Trafford. United have yet to sell any of their one-away stars this summer, with Marcus Rashford the most notable departure, leaving on loan to join Barcelona. Rashford's exit to the Catalan capital is thought to save United around £12 million in wages, but it's sales that will move the dial with PSRs, profit and sustainability rules. United's performance in defeat to Arsenal on Sunday was encouraging. Ruben Amorim's side looked a much more cohesive unit, despite beginning a crucial campaign with another loss. And yet, no one at M16 is under any illusion that more signings are not needed to strengthen a squad that has let down a succession of different managers over the years. Midfield and goalkeeper are the obvious areas which may need to be looked at. It's why there has been so much excitement around a potential pursuit of Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba, a player who is developing into one of the Premier League's finest midfielders at a rapid rate. The sticking point for United is the player's reported £100 million plus price tag. Brighton also appear adamant that their young star is not for sale, making any summer move extremely unlikely at this stage. But sales will boost the club's PSR position and offer a glimmer of hope that Baleba could yet end up in Manchester before the summer window closes on September 1st. Fabrizio Romano has claimed that talks are advancing over Alejandro Garnacho's potential move to Chelsea. The Argentine leaving on a permanent deal would provide United with a significant PSR boost due to the wide man's homegrown status, meaning his sale would represent pure profit. Elsewhere, striker Rasmus Højlund has been perhaps mostly strongly linked with a move away over recent weeks. The Dane has fallen out of favor under Amorim, after Benjamin Sesko rocked up at Old Trafford for a big money fee from RB Leipzig. Clubs from Italy have been most heavily linked, although a surprise switch to Fulham has also been mooted. That may now be complicated amid reports from the Mirror that Rodrigo Muniz's Craven Cottage exit has fallen through. The possible summer sales of Garnacho and Højlund would be a welcome relief for everyone at M16. The focus would still likely be on selling the club's remaining one-away assets, Jadon Sancho, Antony, and Tyrell Malacia. But there may yet be an opportunity to test Brighton's resolve on Baleba before the summer window closes. Thanks for watching. Stay for the next content. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Newcastle say no plans to sell Liverpool target after he says relationship can't continue, promise is broken. Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak has said on social media that his relationship with the club can't continue, amid his desire to leave the side and his prolonged absence from the squad. Newcastle subsequently responded to the striker on Tuesday, saying that they were disappointed by Isak's post and that they do not foresee him leaving the club. Isak was not present at Tuesday's PFA Awards, where he was the only Newcastle player to be named in the Premier League team of the season. On August 1st, Premier League champions Liverpool saw an official bid worth a guaranteed £110 million rebuffed by Newcastle, whose position so far has been that the 25-year-old is not for sale. The Athletic reported on August 11th that Isak is adamant he will never represent Newcastle again, and that, even if the club refused to sell him and he remains on Tyneside when the transfer window closes, Isak regards his career at St. James's Park as finished and has no desire to reintegrate into the squad. The Sweden international did not travel with the side for their preseason tour in Asia and was not in the squad for Saturday's Premier League opener against Aston Villa. Addressing the situation publicly for the first time this summer, Isak wrote on social media that broken promises had led to the breakdown of his relationship with the club. "I'm proud to be recognized by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 2024-25, Isak wrote on his Instagram story. "First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself." In response, Newcastle released a club statement, saying that the criteria for a sale has not been met, and they remain open to Isak rejoining the squad. "We are disappointed to have been alerted to a social media post by Alexander Isak this evening," said the club. "We are clear in response that Alex remains under contract and that no commitment has ever been made by a club official that Alex can leave Newcastle United this summer. We want to keep our best players, but we also understand players have their own wishes, and we listen to their views. As explained to Alex and his representatives, we must always take into consideration the best interests of Newcastle United, the team and our supporters in all decisions, and we have been clear that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired. We do not foresee those conditions being met. This is a proud football club with proud traditions, and we strive to retain our family feel. Alex remains part of our family and will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates." Isak scored 27 goals in all competitions last season, including one in the Carabao Cup final, as Newcastle beat Liverpool 2-1 and ended their 70-year wait for a major domestic trophy. What has The Athletic reported on promises made to Isak? The Athletic reported on July 30th that minority owner Amanda Stavely discussed a new contract with Isak's camp over several months before she left the club in July last year. When Paul Mitchell joined the club as sporting director that summer, he did not believe the club had the PSR capacity to extend the striker's contract, and so the talks were postponed. Isak still had 4 years remaining on his deal and, on a salary of over £150,000 a week, was already firmly among Newcastle's highest earners. The Athletic was told that key decision-makers at the top of the club were aligned in coming to this view. Though not everyone at the club agreed with the approach, Newcastle decided to wait until they had strengthened their PSR position before revisiting the issue. Having finished 5th in the Premier League, qualified again for the Champions League, and sold Miguel Almiron, Lloyd Kelly, and Sean Longstaff, Newcastle are now in a space whereby they could offer Isak a deal which would comfortably make him the best paid player in the club's history. People at Newcastle claim this was communicated to Isak's camp, that they stressed how important he is to the club's ambitions, and that they understood talks would be picked up this summer instead. However, other people familiar with the situation say this change of approach and change in tone after the TLC of the Stavely era was a significant turning point. Isak's position hardened, a position which was relayed to Newcastle on several occasions. There was no fallout with Eddie Howe, but rather appreciation. There was no animosity towards Piff, but there was a determined view that, to compete for the very highest honors and be paid accordingly, it was time for him to move on. Thanks for watching. Stay for the next content. Don't forget to like and subscribe.